Hello dear students, and welcome to K. Gutte's online lecture series. So you are here with myself, Dr. K.W. Gutte, your course educator. Today I am going to discuss literary terms. In this video lecture I am going to discuss 10 literary terms. You will surely understand these literary terms. These literary terms are important from the exam point of view. So, my dear students, keep watching this video and do not forget to like this video and to share this video. So, we are going to discuss literary terms in detail. You will get the definition, you will get some examples of these literary terms. Dear students, these are act, allegory, parable, fable, allusion, ambiguity, antithesis, blank verse, burlesque, and parody. These 10 literary terms we are going to discuss in this video lecture. So keep watching. Act. What is act? Act is a major division in a play. Often individual acts are divided into smaller units, scenes, that all take place in a specific location. Originally, Greek plays were not divided into acts. They took place as a single whole, interrupted occasionally by the chorus singing. In Roman times, a 5-act structure first appeared based upon Horace's recommendations. This 5-act structure became a convention of drama, especially tragedy during the Renaissance. Shakespeare's plays have natural divisions that can be taken as a breaks between acts as well. Later editors inserted clear act and scene marking in these locations. From about 1650 Common Era onwards, most plays followed the 5-act model. In 19th century, Ibsen and Chekhov favored a 4-act play, and in 20th century, most playwrights preferred a 3-act model, though 2-act plays are not uncommon. An act is the traditional way playwrights break up the action of a play. The number of acts in a play varies. You will usually find 5 acts in plays by Shakespeare, while modern playwrights use any number of acts. The 1-act play has only a single act. This is the second literary term, that is allegory. The word derives from the Greek word allegoria, that means speaking otherwise. The term loosely describes any writing in verse or prose that has a double meaning. This narrative acts as an extended metaphor in which persons, abstract ideas, or events represent not only themselves on the literal level, but they also stand for something else on the symbolical level. An allegorical reading usually involves moral or spiritual concepts that may be more significant than the actual literal events described in a narrative. Typically, an allegory involves the interaction of multiple symbols which together create a moral, spiritual, or even political meaning. The act of interpreting a story as if each object in it had an allegorical meaning is called allegories. Allegory is an act of interpretation, a way of understanding rather than a genre in and of itself. Poems, novels, or plays can all be allegorical in whole or in part. These allegories can be as short as single sentence or as long as 10-volume book. The label allegory comes from an interaction between symbols that creates a coherent meaning beyond that of a literal level of interpretation. Probably the most famous allegory in English literature is John Bunyan's Pilgrim's Progress, in which the hero named Christian flees the city of destruction and travels through the valley of shadow of death, Vanity Fair and Doubting Castle, and finally arrives at the celestial city. The entire narrative is a representation of human soul's pilgrimage through temptation and doubt to reach salvation in heaven. Medieval works were frequently allegorical, such as the plays Mankind and Every Man. Other important allegorical works include mythological allegories like Apollo's Tale of Cupid, Psyche in The Golden Ass. More recent non-mythological allegories include Spenser's Fairy Queen, Swift's Gulliver's Travels, Butler's Erewhon, and George Orwell's Animal Farm. The next literary term is parable. What is parable? Parable is a story or short narrative designed to reveal allegorically some religious principle, moral lesson, psychological reality, or general truth. Rather than using abstract discussion, a parable always teaches by comparison with real or literal occurrences, especially homey, everyday occurrences a wide number of people can relate to. Well-known examples of parables include those found in the Synoptic Gospels, such as the Prodigal Son and the Good Samaritan. Now we have fable. Fable is a brief story illustrating human tendencies through animal characters. Unlike the parables, fables often include talking animals or animated objects as the principal characters. The interaction of these animals or objects reveals general truths about human nature. That is, a person can learn practical lessons from the fictional antics in fable. However, unlike a parable, the lesson learned is not necessarily allegorical. Each animal is not necessarily a symbol for something else. Instead, the reader learns the lesson as an example of what one should or should not do. The 6th century before Common Era Greek writer Aesop is most credited as an author of fables, but Phaedrus and Babyrush is the 1st century expanded on his works to produce the tales we know today. A famous collection of Indian fables was the Sanskrit Bidpai, and in the medieval period, Marie de France composed 102 fables in verse. After the 600s, fables increasingly became common as a form of children's literature. Allusion. An allusion is a reference, typically brief, to a person, place, thing, event, or other literary work with which the reader is presumably familiar. As a literary device, allusion allows a writer to compress a great deal of meaning and significance into a word or phrase. However, allusions are only effective to the extent that they are recognized and understood by the reader, and that they are properly inferred and interpreted by the reader. If an allusion is obscure or misunderstood, it can lose effectiveness by confusing the reader. For example, in his novel Ragtime, E.L. Doctorow's character Little Boy tells another character who is going to Europe to warn the Duke. This is an allusion to the Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, whose assassination initiated the chain of events leading to the World War I. Doctorow's allusion is effective for readers that recognize and understand the reference, and it underscores the significance for readers of how one action in history can lead to a long-term global consequences. Now some examples, common examples of allusion in everyday speech. People can often make allusions in everyday conversation, sometimes without the realization that they are doing so, and sometimes without knowing the material to which they are alluding. Typically, these allusions are in the reference to a popular culture, including movies, books, music, public figures, and so on. For example, his smile is like kryptonite to me. That is Superwoman's weakness. She felt like she had a golden ticket. That is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The guy is young, scrappy and hungry. That is Hamilton. So allusion is a casual reference in literature to a person, place, event, or another passage of literature, often without explicit identification. Allusion can originate in mythology, biblical references, historical events, legends, geography, or earlier literary works. Authors often use allusions to establish a tone, create an implied association, contrast two objects or people, make an unusual juxtaposition of references, or bring the reader into a world of experience outside the limitations of the story itself. Ambiguity. Ambiguity is a word, phrase, or statement in which contains more than one meanings. Ambiguous words or statements lead to the vagueness and confusion and shape the basis for instances of unintentional humor. Ambiguity in literature serves the purpose of lending a deeper meaning to a literary work. By introducing ambiguity in their works, writers give liberty to readers to use their imagination to explore meanings. This active participation of the readers involves them in the prose or poetry they read. For instance, Hamlet, in this drama there are so many ambiguous sentences. For example, he kills to avenge his father's murder. Another example is, he is good because he wants to protect his mother. And he is bad because he is willing to kill whom he must to achieve this end. The next literary term is antithesis. Antithesis, which literally means opposite, is a rhetorical device in which two opposite ideas are put together in a sentence to achieve a contrasting effect. Antithesis emphasizes idea of contrast by parallel structures of the contrasted phrases or clauses. The structures of phrases and clauses are similar. In order to draw the attention of listeners or readers, for example, setting foot on moon may be small step for a man but a giant step for mankind. A literary device like antithesis uses words to convey ideas in different ways from the common words and expressions of daily life. Thus, it conveys meaning more vividly than ordinary speech. When contrasting ideas are brought together, the idea is expressed more emphatically. Blank verse. Blank verse is a literary device defined as unrhyming verse written in iambic pentameter. In poetry and prose, it has a consistent meter with 10 syllables in each line, where unstressed syllables are followed by stressed ones, 5 of which are stressed but do not rhyme. It is also known as unrhymed iambic pentameter. Blank verse poetry has no fixed number of lines. It has a conventional meter that is used for verse drama and long narrative poems. It is often used in descriptive and reflective poems and dramatic monologues, the poems in which a single character delivers his thought in the form of a speech. Blank verse can be composed in any kind of meter such as iamb, trochee, spondee, and dactyl. Earl of Surrey first used the term blank verse in his translation of Aeneid of Virgil. Originating from Latin and Greek sources, blank verse is widely employed as a vehicle in English dramatic poetry and prose to create specific grandeur. Blank verse has similarity to normal speech, but it is written in a variety of patterns which bring interruptions such as pauses. Therefore, the intention is to produce a formal rhythmical pattern that creates musical effect. Hence, it tends to capture the attention of readers and listeners, which is its primary objective. We have an example of blank verse from Mending Walls by Robert Frost. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that sends frozen ground swell under it, and spills the upper boulders in the sun. This is an example of blank verse. Then we have burlesque. Burlesque is a style in literature and drama that mocks or imitates a subject by representing it in an ironic or ludicrous way, resulting in comedy. It is a form of literary genre satire. The term burlesque originates from Italian burla and burlesco, meaning ridicule, mockery, or joke. Correspondingly, burlesque creates humor by ridiculing or mimicking serious works, genres, subjects, and or authors in one or two ways, either by presenting significant subjects in an absurd or crude way, or by presenting insignificant subjects in sophisticated way. As a literary and dramatic device, the term is often used interchangeably with parody, though a parody is actually a type of burlesque. So burlesque is an important form of literature and drama because of its ability to make a mockery of serious and light-hearted subjects alike. What's more, it can be used as a way to deliver opinions and messages to encourage change and awareness, all by presenting information through comedy that is often outrageous, unusual, and vulgar. Above all, especially today, burlesque is an exciting, smart, and enduring form of entertainment. Then parody is the next literary term. A parody is a work that is created by imitating an existing original work in order to make fun of or comment on an aspect of the original. Parodies can target celebrities, politicians, authors, a style or trend, or any other interesting subject. The term parody is derived from the Greek phrase parodia, which referred to a type of poem which imitated the style of epic poems but with mockery and light comedy. A parody imitates the serious manner and characteristic features of a particular literary work in order to make fun of those same features. The humorist achieves parody by exaggerating certain traits common to the work. Much as a caricaturist creates a humorous depiction of a person by magnifying and calling attention to a person's most noticeable features. The term parody is often used synonymously with more general term spoof, which makes fun of the general traits of a genre rather than one particular work or author. The subject matter of a parody is comically inappropriate, such as using elaborate formal diction of an epic to describe something trivial like washing socks or cleaning a dusty attic. Aristotle attributes the first Greek parody hegemon of Thasus in the Poetics, though other writings credit the playwright Hipponox with the first creation of theatrical parody. Aristophanes makes use of parody in the Frogs, in which he mocks the style of Euripides and Aeschylus. So these are 10 literary terms we have discussed in this video lecture. So thank you for watching this video, and do not forget to like, share and subscribe my YouTube video channel so that you can watch different types of videos on my YouTube channel. So see you, dear students, in another video lecture in another video. Thank you.